Sitting on the porch as the evening fades. Old man in the shadows with stories that invade. The wind howls a tune like a ghostly call. He leans in close as you'll hear their thrall. Legends of the night, of things unexplained in these haunted hills where sanity's strained. He whispers soft warnings, his eyes aglow. The things that you seek are the things you don't know. Oh, the hills are alive with shadows and dread. Strange whispers in the night, like voices of the dead. Bigfoot in the thickets, dogmen on the prowl. When the darkness settles in, hear the monsters howl. He talks of old legends of foul flickering lights, mischief in the moonbeam on those restless nights. The dogman's howling a sound that chills the bone. With claws like daggers it prowls alone. And Bigfoot's shadow towering and fierce, a creature of the wild, making wanderers pierce through the foggy abyss where they shouldn't tread, knowing not all stories are merely in your head. Oh, the hills are alive with shadows and dread.
And hello once again, everyone, to Grandpa's Old Haint Tales. As always, check them lanterns, check them flashlights. We've uncovered something other in Grandpa's old book tonight. In the famous words of Roscoe P. Coltrane, it's going to put a quiver in your liver. I guarantee. I want to give a shout out to everybody here in the audience. We've got Southern Ohio Bigfoot. We got Grace. We got Beverly. Oh, and we got our brother from another mother, old Sean D.B. Cooper. Glad to see you, Sean. Glad you're in here. And I've got a special cousin in here if I can find him. Ah, Brother Keith, we got you in here. Hey, Keith, how you doing, big bud? All righty, youngins. Get ready. Hold on to your hats. Grab them old blankets. It's getting dark. It's getting spooky. So we're going to get with it. But before we get with it, one more thing before I forget. Thursday night, anybody that's sent in any requests, to have stories read on the air and all that good stuff, they'll be read on Thursday nights. That way me and Giggles can take turns to read them. I know she loves reading them, and I love to hear her read them. And we've not forgot you. We'll get you on Thursday nights. All right, ladies and gentlemen, pull you up a stump, get you a good dip of snuff, and snuggle up right real good, because here we go. As always, if you see my screen freezing up, still haven't got my digitized book the way that I want it, trying to look at two screens at the same time. So if I freeze up and you can still hear the audio, it's not on your end. It's because I'm having switch screens to read. This one's called The Black Stag of Hurricane Gap. Folks up around Hurricane Gap say if you see the black stag standing in the middle of the road, you better turn around and go on. Doesn't matter if your mama's dying or your truck's out of gas, you turn around. Back in 1978, a lineman named Curtis Wallen, he ignored that warning. Curtis was headed up the mountain after a storm tore through Madison County. Power lines were down everywhere. Rain still dripped from the trees when he rounded a bend and saw it standing there beneath his headlights. A stag. Biggest deer he had ever seen. Its antlers stretched wider than the road itself, twisted like dead tree limbs. Steam rolled from its nostrils through the though the air was still warm. But what bothered Curtis most were its eyes. They weren't animal eyes. They looked human. Old, tired, and mean. Stag didn't move. Curtis laid on the horn. Nothing. He flashed his headlights, trying to get it to move. Still nothing. Finally, aggravated to no end, he stepped out with a wrench in his hand and yelled at it to move. That's when he noticed the woods had gone completely silent. No frogs, no cricket, no wind. The stag slowly turned its head towards the tree line, and Curtis heard chains rattling somewhere deep in the dark. Then came the whisper. Curtis claimed something huge moved between the trees uphill from him, something crawling low across the ridge. He jumped back into his truck and drove around the stag. Bad mistake. 3 miles later, they found his truck wrapped around a chestnut oak. Curtis survived barely long enough to speak. The deputy said Curtis kept grabbing his arm, crying. He followed me down the mountain, he whimpered. When the rescuers checked the truck, they found giant hoof prints all around it, but mixed in with them were handprints, human handprints, pressed upside down in the mud like something had crawled on all fours. What do y'all think about that one? Let's see what we got in the crowd going on. There's Miss Robin. Hey, Grace. It's going to get even more scary, Beverly. Hang on to your hats. It might be a charming moment before the night's out. See what else Grandpa's got going on. This one's called The Woman in the Fog of Devil's Creek. There's no logging road near Devil's Creek where the fog rolls in thick every October. Hunters refuse to camp there now. Not after what happened to Earl Pritchard. Earl was a hard-headed mountain man who feared nothing. In 1989, he set traps deep in the holler despite warnings from locals about the mourning woman. Near midnight, Earl heard crying outside his tent. Real soft at first. Then they got louder. He figured somebody got hurt in the woods, so he grabbed a lantern and stepped outside. Fog was so thick it swallowed the light. Then he saw her, a woman in a white dress standing beside the creek. Her hair hung over her face, bare feet in the freezing water. Earl called out to her. She didn't answer him. Instead, she slowly pointed towards the woods uphill. That's when Earl heard another sound. Children laughing, but wrong somehow. Too slow, too deep. Earl started backing up. The woman lifted her head. She had no eyes, just black, empty sockets leaking creek water. Earl ran. Branches clawed his face while something splashed through the creek behind him. He swore he heard bare feet slapping the mud right at his back. He made it home just before dawn, but the strange part came later. His wife found muddy footprints leading into their house, small footprints, like children. Every mirror in the home had fogged over from the inside, and on the bathroom mirror something had written, "She still looks for them." Told you, y'all, it's gonna get creepy. Hang on, we got a few more. This one's called The Chain Man of Dead Horse Ridge. Truckers, I get said to me, got the porky pig disease, I'm sorry. Truckers crossing Dead Horse Ridge after midnight still report seeing a man carrying chains. Most don't stop anymore. Back in 1964, a truck driver named Lynn Barker did. He spotted an old man standing beside the road, waving a lantern during a snowstorm. He felt sorry for him, so he pulled over. The old man climbed in silently. He smelled like wet dirt and old graves. Lynn tried making conversation, but the stranger only stared straight ahead. Then the old man finally spoke. "You shouldn't drive this road tonight." Lynn laughed nervously and said, "Why?" The old man slowly lifted the chains in his lap, blood dripping off of them. "Because they're searching." Before Lynn could react, the CB radio exploded with static. Voices whispered through it, dozens of them. "Turn around, turn 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 around." And something slammed the trailer from behind, hard. Lynn looked into the mirror, expecting another truck. There wasn't anything there. But huge handprints began appearing on the outside of the frosted windshield, one by one, from the outside, climbing upward. The old man suddenly grabbed Lynn's arm. "Don't look in the trees." Naturally, Lynn looked anyway. He saw pale figures hanging upside down from the branches, watching the truck pass, smiling. When Lynn jerked his eyes back on the road, the old man was gone. Just the chains remained. Police later found old prison shackles buried near the ridge dating back to a forgotten chain gang camp where dozens supposedly died in the winter of 1911. Locals say they never stopped walking. So what do y'all think? Hello, Kiara Jade. Oh, Paranormal 411. We got you in the house. Hello. Thank you, Grace. We'll see what else Grandpa's got. Hang on to your hats. Pardon me just a second, youngins. I've got to sneeze. Oh, excuse me. I apologize for that. This one's called The Hollow Preacher. People in Avery County still whisper about a preacher with no face. He appears before deaths, always at dusk, always carrying a Bible. 2003, teenager named Caleb Morton saw him while driving home from a football practice. Preacher stood behind an abandoned church near the woods. Black suit, black hat, Bible tucked beneath one arm. Caleb slowed down because something looked wrong about him. Then he realized something. Preacher had no face, just smooth, pale skin stretched tight beneath that hat brim. Caleb floored the truck. That night, his grandfather died in his sleep. 3 days later, Caleb saw the preacher again standing outside the funeral home, this time closer, holding the Bible open, pages flipping though even though there was no wind. Caleb swore something was written inside using blood instead of ink. Then the preacher slowly raised one finger and pointed towards the mountains. 2 miners died in a cave the next morning. Caleb eventually asked an old woman in town about it. She turned pale immediately, told him during the 1800s, a preacher vanished while searching for a hidden cave where something unclean slept beneath the mountain. Search parties found his Bible, but every page in it was blank, except for one. It simply read, "It knows my name." Youngins, strange world we live in. See what else old Grandpa's got. This one's called The Thing Buried Under Witch Knob. There's a hill near Witch Knob nobody digs on anymore. Not after the Hinchley boys. Back in 1972, 2 brothers decided to bulldoze part of that hill for a trailer foundation. Old timers begged them not to. Said the mountain covered something ancient. Brothers laughed it off. Around sundown, the bulldozer struck stone underground. But it wasn't rock. It was a slab, perfectly smooth, covered in strange carvings. Then came the smell. Rotten meat and wet caves. One brother climbed down to clear dirt away while the other kept working the blade. That's when the screaming started. Neighbors heard it clear across the holler. By the time folks arrived, the bulldozer sat empty, and it was still running. One brother was found unconscious in the mud. The other vanished completely, never found. But the surviving brother told deputies what happened. He said something knocked from beneath the slab. 3 knocks. Then a voice whispered from underground, "Let me out." The surviving brother moved away shortly after. Before leaving town, he told his cousin one final thing. At night, he still heard knocking beneath his bedroom floor. Always 3 times. Awesome, Sean. Oh, there's Miss Donna. Hello, Miss Donna. Sean, before this year's out, I'm going to get in your neighborhood, buddy, and we're going to hit the woods. And you can show me all them cool places that you got. And we'll see what we can find. Southern Ohio Bigfoot, glad you made it. Sean, you're right. A lot of these stories do cease to exist when people lost their connection to the land. It does make one wonder what's really and truly out there. Southern Ohio's got chill bumps. Beverly be a praying. Paranormal 411. If that's you, Paranormal Paul, glad you're here. Glad you liked the story, brother. See what else Grandpa's got. This one's called The Crying Man of Shadow Branch. Deep in the Pisgah backcountry sits a place called Shadow Branch. It's nothing more than a narrow stream cutting through black timber and laurel thickets so thick daylight barely reaches the ground. Locals say if you hear crying there after dark, you best leave immediately. 1996, 3 college boys ignored that warning while camping near the creek. Around 2 a.m., one of them woke to a man sobbing somewhere in the woods. Not loud, not dramatic, just broken hearted crying. The kind that makes the hair stand up on your neck. One of the boys joked, probably an old drunk hunter. Another claimed it sounded too close for comfort. Then came the voice. Please help me. The crying shifted farther into the woods. The boys grabbed flashlights and followed it despite their friend begging them not to go. The voice kept leading them deeper and deeper into the trees. Always just ahead. Please, I'm hurt. After nearly 20 minutes, the crying stopped completely. That's when they noticed something awful. The woods had gone silent. No insects, no creek, absolutely nothing. Then all 3 flashlights died at once. One boy swore he heard breathing directly beside him. Heavy breathing, wet breathing. Then a flashlight flickered back on for a half a second, long enough to reveal a man hanging upside down from a tree limb. His jaw hung open way too wide, and his eyes rolled back in his head just as wide as the drifting snow. And his arms bent backwards like snapped branches. The lights died again. Boys ran blind through the forest until sunrise. One of them refused to speak for nearly a month after. Years later, he finally admitted something followed them almost all the way back to camp. He heard it crying behind the trees, mocking them, trying to sound human. Oh, there's Mitch Sandman. Glad to see you in here, buddy. See who else has come in here. All righty, we'll try us another one. This one's called The Cold Hollow Watcher. Near an abandoned coal route outside Spruce Pine stands an old stone tunnel sealed shut with rusted iron bars. Nobody knows who sealed it. Nobody wants to. In 1981, a group of local teenagers dared each other to spend the night there. Around midnight, they heard tapping from inside the tunnel. Slow, metallic, like fingernails on a metal pipe. One of the boys shined a flashlight between the bars and froze. Something pale stood deep inside the tunnel. It was tall, too tall, its head nearly brushing the ceiling. The figure slowly stepped closer. Its arms dangled almost to the ground, and its eyes reflected white like an animal caught in the headlights. One of the girls started screaming for them to leave. That's when the thing spoke. Its voice sounded cracked and dry. Did they finally open it? The kids bolted, but one boy named Travis glanced back while running. He claimed the figure never walked. It stretched, its body unnaturally jerking forward through the darkness like a spider unfolding. The next morning, deputies found strange scratches all over the tunnel's entrance. Fresh scratches. And somebody had bent two iron bars outward from the inside. Travis disappeared 6 months later while hunting alone. Search teams found his rifle leaning against a tree beside muddy footprints. The footprints looked human, except for one thing. Every print had 6 toes. That's right, Sean. You never looked back. South Ohio Bigfoot, you're right again. Let's see what else Grandpa's got in his old book. This one's called The Lantern of Crow Ridge. Old mountain folks say never follow strange lantern lights at night, especially on Crow Ridge. Back during the winter of 1947, a widow named Martha Teague vanished while walking home from church. Searchers combed the mountain for days. Not a single sign of her anywhere. Then one old tracker claimed he saw a lantern moving deep along a ridge after midnight. Search party followed it through snow-covered woods. The lantern stayed just ahead of them the whole entire time, bobbing slowly in between the trees. Eventually, they reached an old cemetery forgotten by time. Broken stones, sunken graves, Complete, total, dead silence. The lantern hovered beside a crooked grave marker, then vanished. The men approached carefully. That's when they discovered Martha's body kneeling in the snow, frozen, solid, hands folded like she'd been praying. But her face, oh, her face. Her face looked terrified, eyes bulging wide toward the woods, as if she'd seen something approaching before she died. The tracker later confessed something else. When the lantern disappeared, he briefly saw who carried it. Wasn't a person, a shadow, tall and thin with glowing eyes inside its hood. Locals still claim the lantern appears before bad winters or sudden deaths, always drifting toward the cemetery, always searching for someone else to follow. Yeah, Southern Ohio Bigfoot, that would be a Charmin moment for sure. See what else old Grandpa's got. This one's called The Grave Guardian of Black Pine. There's a hidden graveyard somewhere above Black Pine Gap that locals refuse to discuss. No maps show it. No roads leads there. But hunters sometimes stumble across it by accident. And when they do, something watches them. A retired game warden named Dole Mercer claimed he found the place in 2008 while tracking a wounded bear. He noticed old grave markers scattered among the trees, most carved by hand centuries ago. Every grave faced the same direction, toward a cave opening higher up on the ridge. Dole said the air felt wrong there, heavy, like the woods themselves were holding their breath. Then he noticed movement beside the cave. A figure stood perfectly still near the entrance. An old man holding a lantern, long gray beard, black coat, wide brim hat. Dole called out. The old man didn't answer. Instead, he slowly raised one hand and pointed downhill, like warning Dole to leave. Dole ignored him and approached the cave anyways. That's when he heard whispering coming from inside. Not one voice, hundreds, layered together, muttering too fast to understand. Then came the smell, wet earth and something absolutely rotten. Dole suddenly realized every grave around him had been dug up recently. Fresh dirt covered the ground. He turned back toward the old man. He was gone, but new footprints surrounded him in the mud. Bare human footprints, dozens of them, all leading out of that cave. What do you youngins think? What would you do in that situation? I think part of you are scared stiff already. See what else Grandpa's got. I agree, Beverly. Time to run. Make sure you got plenty of Charmin in your hip pocket. We're all about them Charmin moments. You get feeling that here in the woods, whether you're paranormal investigating, cryptid investigating, or just out and about in general. Smart idea. Buy a stock at Charmin. Sean, I don't blame you. I wouldn't try to put myself in that situation either, but if it came up, what you gonna do? See what else Grandpa's got. This one's called The Death Bell of Thunder Hall. There used to be a church deep in Thunder Hall where the bell rang by itself before somebody died. Most folks dismissed it as mountain superstition until the winter of 1968. A blizzard trapped several families in a holler for days. Snow buried roads and snapped power lines clean in half. One night residents heard the old church bell ringing through the storm. Slow, heavy, and mournful. The church had been abandoned for nearly 20 years. A few men grabbed lanterns and hiked through the snow to investigate. The church doors stood open, swinging in the wind. Inside the bell rope moved on its own, back and forth, back and forth, but nobody touched it. One man finally climbed the tower stairs to stop the bell. Halfway up, he started screaming. The others rushed after him. They found him collapsed at the top, staring into the rafters. Something huge had scratched symbols into the wood overhead, fresh scratches as if claws carved them moments earlier. Then the bell rang again, deafening this time. All the lanterns went out, and somebody whispered from the darkness, "One more remains." The men fled the church immediately. By morning, an elderly woman in the holler had died peacefully in her sleep. But the story did not end there, because later that evening, the bell rang again. And this time, two people died. What do you youngins think about that one? Grace is pondering on that one. She said, never know. See what else Grandpa's got. This one's called The Whistler Below Old Raven Cliff. There's an abandoned fire road below Raven Cliff where people hear whistling after midnight. Not music, not tunes, Just three sharp whistles coming from the woods. Old folks say, never whistle back. In 1993, two brothers named Eli and Jordan Crane learned why the hard way. The brothers were spotlighting deer from an old logging trail when they heard it for the first time. Three whistles. Short. Sort of sounded like human. Eli whistled. He laughed and he whistled back. The woods immediately went silent. Then something answered from farther up the mountain. Three whistles again, only louder. Jordan suddenly wanted to leave, but Eli kept joking around. He whistled one more time towards the trees. That's when they heard footsteps circling the truck. Slow crunching in dead leaves. But when they shined the spotlight out into the shadows, nothing was there. Then came another whistle, right beside the passenger door. Jordan screamed because something tall ducked below the window before the light hit him. The truck wouldn't start. Eli kept turning the key while footsteps moved around them faster and faster. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Then both brothers heard breathing from the truck bed. Heavy breathing. Like something enormous crouched behind them. Jordan slowly turned around. He later claimed he saw fingers curling over the rear window. Long gray fingers with black nails. The truck finally started and they tore down the mountain. But the strangest part came later. Mud covered the tailgate the next morning. And written across it in streaks of dirt were these three words. You answered back. Sean, that might accidentally be the Raven Cliff Grandpa was talking about. Kiera, you're right. Don't whistle at night. I'm lucky my whistler broke 20 years ago. I can't whistle nothing. So I don't have it to worry about. But those who can whistle, don't do it. See what else Grandpa's got. This one's called The Widow in a Root Cellar. Near Burnt Laurel stood an old farmhouse, abandoned since the 1950s. Kids used to dare each other to enter the root cellar behind it. Most of them refused because sometimes a woman cried beneath the door. In the autumn of 2001, four paranormal thrill seekers from Asheville visited the property hoping to film something spooky. At first, nothing happened. Then, shortly after sunset, their camera started malfunctioning. Static filled the audio. Cold spots appeared everywhere around the cellar. One girl named Heather heard knocking beneath her feet. Three slow knocks. Then a woman's voice whispered, "He locked me inside." The group thought somebody might actually be trapped below. They forced the cellar doors open. A horrible, terrible smell poured out. Rot and wet dirt. Their flashlights revealed old shelves, broken jars, and claw marks covering the inside walls. thousands of claw marks. Heather noticed an old chain bolted near the back wall. Then one of the cameras captured movement in the darkness. A woman crouched in the far corner. Long white hair covered her face. She slowly lifted her head. Skin gray as ash, eyes completely black. And her mouth, it was sewn shut. The group ran instantly, but while reviewing the footage later, they noticed something extremely horrifying. The figure had disappeared from the cellar halfway through the recording. Yet Heather kept reacting like she still saw it standing there. Behind the camera, closer and closer. That's right, Sean. If you hear a whistle in the woods at night, nope, you didn't hear that. That was your imagination. Your mind's playing tricks on you. Do not whistle back. Beverly says she's probably not going into the woods at night. She's had enough encounters in the daytime. Fair enough. Beverly, you're exactly right. Just like your side view mirror on the passenger side of your vehicle. Objects are closer than they appear. See what else Grandpa's got. We got time for two or three more. Oh, hello, hound dog. Glad you joined in. You can hit that rewind button later on. Catch up on what all you missed. This one's called The Pale Rider of Bleeding Rock. You say it in a second. Truckers crossing Bleeding Rock Highway still report seeing a man on horseback during heavy fog. Most only glimpse him briefly. Others vanish. In 1975, a state trooper named Vernon Hale encountered the rider during a storm. Visibility was terrible when Vernon spotted a horse standing motionless in the middle of the road. Its rider wore a long black coat, a wide brimmed hat pulled low over his face. Vernon exited the ah, Vernon exited the cruiser furious, started yelling for the rider to move. The horse slowly turned its head towards him first. Its eyes were white, not blind, white, dead white. Then the rider looked up. No face, only darkness beneath that hat brim. Vernon stumbled backward while his radio exploded with static. The rider pointed silently towards the woods. That's when Vernon heard screaming somewhere below the cliffside. Search teams later discovered a wrecked family station wagon hidden beneath the embankment. The crash looked fresh, yet investigators learned the family had disappeared nearly 11 years earlier. The bodies inside had not decayed. Not normally, anyway. Skin was stretched tight, eyes wide open, expressions frozen in terror, and mud covered the inside roof of the car, as though something had crawled across it repeatedly. See what else Grandpa's got going on. This one's called The Church That Sank into the Mountain. High above Shelton Laurel once stood a tiny mountain church built beside an old cave entrance. Locals warned the preacher not to build it there, said something lived beneath the mountain. Preacher ignored them. For several months, strange things plagued the congregation. People hearing whispers during sermons, children speaking to invisible figures, blood appearing inside the baptism water. Then one Sunday morning, a church bell rang non-stop before sunrise. Neighbors rushed uphill to investigate, but the church was gone. Not burned, not destroyed. Gone. The entire building had collapsed straight into the earth, as though the mountain swallowed it whole. Searchers found only a massive sinkhole where the church once stood, and deep below they heard singing, church hymns, dozens of voices echoing from underground. Rescuers lowered ropes into the hole, but nobody volunteered to descend after dark. One deputy finally did. He climbed back out less than 2 minutes later, white as a ghost, wouldn't stop shaking. When pressed about what he saw, he whispered, "They're still having service down there." He resigned the following week and moved out west. Before leaving, he warned his brother never to visit that sinkhole at night, because every Sunday you can still hear the congregation singing beneath the mountain. See what else Grandpa's got going on. That was a good one, wasn't it, Grace? This one's called The Old Woman of Dead Man's Crossing. Dead Man's Crossing got its name long before paved roads reached the mountains. Too many accidents, too many disappearances. But one story still terrifies locals the most. During winter storms, drivers sometimes encounter an old woman asking for a ride. In February of 1988, a nurse named Carla Jennings picked her up during freezing rain. The woman stood beside the road wearing an old black shawl, no coat, no umbrella, just staring at passing cars. Carla felt bad for her. She stopped. The old woman climbed in silently. She smelt like graveyard dirt after a rain. Carla tried speaking politely. No response. Then Carla noticed something strange. The woman's clothes were soaking wet, but the seat beneath her stayed completely dry. Several miles passed before the old woman finally spoke. "You shouldn't travel this road tonight." Carla nervously smiled and said, "Why?" The woman slowly turned her head. Her eyes were clouded over completely white. "Because they're waiting beneath the bridge." At that exact moment, Carla's headlights swept across the old bridge ahead, and she saw them. Jake standing underneath. Tall, pale figures, crowded shoulder to shoulder in the darkness beneath the beam, watching the road, watching her. Carla slammed the brakes and looked backward toward the passenger seat. Empty. The old woman was gone. But muddy water covered the dashboard, and written across the fogged windshield were 4 words: turn around next time. What you all think of that one? We'll do 2 more. This one's called The Knocking Cabin of Frost Hollow. Hunters around Frost Hollow avoid an old trapping cabin hidden near the state line. Not because of the bears, not because of the snakes either, because something knocks from inside after dark. The cabin hasn't had a door in nearly 40 years. Still, people hear knocking. In November of 1991, a pair of hunters named Wade and Tommy took shelter there during a snowstorm. Wind screaming through the trees while sleet hammered the tin roof overhead. The cabin looked abandoned, dust thick on the floor, a broken stove, rotting bunk beds. But somebody had recently stacked fresh firewood beneath the fireplace. That bothered Tommy immediately. Round midnight, they heard the first knock, then slow thumps from beneath the floorboards. Both men froze. Wade laughed nervously, claiming it was probably tree limbs hitting under the cabin. Then the knocking came again, closer this time, like something directly beneath them. Tommy grabbed a lantern and knelt beside the floor. That's when he noticed scratches around one loose floorboard. Deep scratches, like fingernails. The knocking suddenly exploded violently beneath them. And a voice whispered from under the floorboards, "Oh, let me in." The men bolted outside into the storm, but while running downhill, Wade glanced back towards the cabin. A lantern glowed in the window now, and somebody stood inside watching them. Tall, crooked, and motionless. The next morning they returned with the deputies. No footprints surrounded the cabin, despite fresh snow. But inside, 2 muddy handprints pressed upward from beneath the loose floorboard, as if something underneath had tried to push its way out. Keith, I don't blame you. Hound Dog, can't blame you either. Hound Dog said, wouldn't be the next time for me. Once is plenty. Keith said, I don't have anything lost in the woods I need to go find. Beverly says, nope, stay outside. Keith, I think there's an old key hanging on a limb out there in the woods. It goes to your cellar. You might want to go get it. Plenty dark out there. Just don't take a lantern. Robin said she didn't like hitchhikers on that other story. See if anybody else has come in. Beverly said earlier on mud mummies. Grace is having an OMG moment. Oh, you guys are some of the best audience in the world. I'm telling you. I got to tip my hat to you. I appreciate you. Means a lot for you. Come in here and listen to Grandpa's old Haint tales. I'm gonna do one more and then we're gonna call it quits for tonight. And we'll keep the porch light lit for Miss Giggles when she comes in on Thursday. Sean, you said you never picked up anyone at night. We're gonna leave it at that. Keith, Beverly won't know if you're gonna take my challenge. You can't take the lantern, and Grandpa ain't gonna walk with you after. Let's see. Robin asked me, said, "How do you sleep after reading these?" Well, Robin, to be quite honest, I'll tell you just exactly how I sleep by reading all these. I've got the best security team in the whole wide world. I've got two dogs. One's a miniature schnauzer. One's a Taco Bell mixed dog. And I've got four inside house cats that sleeps dead on my bed. I don't think no Haint's going to come near any of that. Let's do one more. Let's see. Sean said, not on back roads. Sean, all I've got to say about that is I'll give you three guesses, and the first two don't count. What that means, but brother. All righty. Here's the last one for the night. This one's called The Ashman of Cinder Gap. Folks living near Cinder Gap say wildfire smoke sometimes carries more than just ash. In the summer of 1974, firefighters battled a mountain blaze that burned for nearly 2 weeks straight. Several crews reported seeing a figure walking calmly through the flames. At first, they assumed it was another firefighter separated from the line. Then they got close enough to see him clearly. The figure's skin looked burned black as charcoal. Smoke curled constantly from his body, and his eyes glowed orange like hot coals. One firefighter named Reggie Miller claimed the thing spoke directly to him while standing inside the flames, untouched. You dug too deep. Reggie later explained an illegal mining crew had blasted into a sealed cave days before the fire began. Locals warned them not to, said the mountain had buried something long ago. The mining crew vanished shortly afterward. No bodies were ever recovered. During the final night of the wildfire, Reggie and another firefighter became trapped near a cliff named Cliff's Edge while flames closed around them. Then they saw the ash man standing below, watching silently. The fire suddenly shifted direction unnaturally fast and surrounded the men completely. Reggie survived only because he jumped into a creek below. His partner burned alive. When the investigators searched the area later, they found strange footprints circling the scorched ground. Bare footprints burned deep into solid rock. Thank you, Grace. I try to stay as safe as I possibly can. Robin said it's good to know she keeps two cats close too. They listen to your stories with me. Awesome. Keith says, nope, I'm good. Haven't lost any cellar keys. Yeah, you have. You just don't know it yet, Keith. And Beverly said she's so glad she don't have a cellar. Well, youngins, we've done busted the hour mark. Beverly said that one will have her thinking for a while. Absolutely. Youngins, we appreciate it. Thank you, Hound Dog. Hit that rewind button after we close this out, Hound Dog. Lay there on your bed of tonight. Just don't let that one hand dangle on the side of the bed. You know they boogers hides under that bed. At least that's what we was told when we was young. The thing that hides under the bed. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you. We love you. Thanks for stopping by. Robin says there's no settlers in California, too many earthquakes. Good night, Grace. Good night, Beverly. As always, come back and see us each and every Tuesday and Thursday night right here on the NCI channel, 9 o'clock. Grandpa's old Haint tales. But y'all better show up on Thursday at 9 o'clock before y'all run off. Giggles and I are working on a new project. I'm going to be working on it tomorrow, trying to get some bugs out of it. I'm not going to reveal the name just yet, but if you follow TikTok, you might catch wind of it. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. It's going to be something other well worth it. Again, be good, behave, and be pretty, and above all else, bicycle.
Sitting on the porch as the evening fades, old man in the shadows with stories that invade. The wind howls a tune like a ghostly call. He leans in close as you'll hear their thrall. Legends of the night, of things unexplained in these haunted hills where sanity's strained. He whispers soft warnings, his eyes aglow. The things that you seek are the things you don't know. Oh, the hills are alive with shadows and dread, strange whispers in the night, like voices of the dead. Bigfoot in the thickets, dogmen on the prowl. When the darkness settles in, hear the monsters howl. He talks of old legends of foul flickering lights, mischief in the moonbeam on those restless nights. The dogman's howling a sound that chills the bone, with claws like daggers it prowls alone. And Bigfoot's shadow towering and fierce, a creature of the wild, making wanderers pierce through the foggy abyss where they shouldn't tread, knowing not all stories are merely in your head. Oh,